Hello, London. Hello, England. Hello, world. I'm going to do something in this video. That was my head turn that I haven't done before. I write a lot. I'm published. And I'm going to read something that I wrote not too long ago. However, that does mean my head will be like this for the entirety of the video, which might be a bit of an odd visual, but here we go. There's no other way to do it. I'm reading on my laptop, hence the head angle. The Italian resistance will not be silenced. In the morning, long before I got onto the Italian carriage, I was walking towards my childhood home, and unexpectedly I could see on the other side of the road a man I used to play tennis with when we were both 12. Like me, British, like me, Indian, like me, the child of Hindu refugees, like me, like me, like me. And subscribe. Back to the piece. I wore a cap to hide the late night I had had before, to hide my eyes and to hide my weary face. And my resilience as I walked was lessening, thinning. I could see this even from the other side of the road, and I'm sure he could as well. Not the same reason I'm wearing a cap today, but we carry on. I had just gotten off a bus and he was waiting at the opposite bus stop with some relatives. We were standing on pieces of ground on which we had walked literally thousands of times in our lives, but we both also knew that these pieces of land would never really be our own. We both wore glasses, both slightly stooped. It took us a moment to recognize one another after I raised my hand to him, he to me. Nothing was said, let alone shouted. These were not fists raised in the air in triumph at the dawn of the day or to signal victory at the end of battle, of war. These were limp, flaccid waves, not those delivered by confident politicians, but more akin to perfunctory surrender. We were both somewhat docile, somewhat passive, and although I did my best to appear conciliatory and triumphant, the two 12-year-old British Asian boys were now slightly defeated men. At night, long after this momentary interaction, I had briskly walked through South London, through a town that was now all but fully decayed. The streets of my youth now scared me. I had jumped into a train towards central London, a journey I had undertaken hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of times throughout my life. The same ticket barriers, the same platforms, almost certainly some of the same train carriages. Then, when I reached London, I took a train homeward bound, and that's where the real journey began. I had a momentary interaction with an aging blonde woman. Nice coat, peroxide blonde hair, sharp lipstick, wrinkles, bangles, no nonsense. Probably the wife of a director or stockbroker. Maybe a director or stockbroker herself. Possibly new money, maybe old. She used the opportunity of the few words we exchanged to sneakily edge in front of me and enter the carriage. As we both walked in, she ordered the girl in front of her to remove the bag from the vacant seat next to her. The girl obliged. Fair enough. I then ordered another girl to move her backpack and suitcase wedged in her vacant seat, asking her to move them, pointing furtively at the items. I have nowhere to put these, she replied, in an English accent I couldn't quite place. I hovered. I said nothing. I waited. Aging blonde woman entered screen right, piped up from the seat directly behind us, and said, "If she moves the backpack from the seat, but keeps the suitcase there, you can perch on the end," pointing towards me. It was a statement, but due to her assertiveness was taken as a command, and the girl moved one bag. I perched on the seat, as instructed, squeezing my legs behind the suitcase. "A compromise," the aging blonde woman said to me, as I nodded gratefully to her. She then looked down and started knitting. We would not exchange any further words that day or ever again. A young gay man in a seat very near me, shiny face full of makeup, was looking at me as if I was dirt. I thought he was one of the few non-Italians on the carriage, as by now the Italian cadences filled up the entire vestibules. But then when he spoke, it turned out he was Italian too. Maybe he thought I was a refugee, but he kept staring. I sometimes stared back. He still looked disgusted. The Maloney effect. The cooler kids, and they all were kids, were up front. I assumed the young gay man, or I should say boy, was part of the same group. Italians, all aged about 17 or 18, of both genders, sculptured faces, effortlessly styled hair, chiseled jaws. Oh, how confident they all were. Some of the girls were potentially older and looked more Middle Eastern, but they were definitely all Italians. Some of the boys, potentially younger, stood and they all gesticulated. Hand movements, gestures, pointing, more paisans. Oh, how loud they were. As their conversations continued, the noises got louder. They dominated the carriage, and none of the non-Italians said a word to remonstrate with them, telling them to keep it down. I remember when I was 17 and we were supervising a group of 10 or 11-year-old Italian children at a summer camp, and Francesco, the loudest of the group, was shouting on the London Underground, and the middle-aged English man, probably born before the war, in a suit and tie, red-faced, said to him, "Young man, this is really unacceptable," to which Francesco, undeterred, did not meekly side back, but this chirpy little 10-year-old literally got on his knees on the middle of the train carriage, clasped his hands together in prayer as if he were in Rome or at the Vatican, and the few words of English he knew he uttered, "I sorry," to which the carriage laughed and almost cheered. But that was 2003. This was 2026. The animated paisans who now surrounded us were not even born then. Oh, how time flies! How much older I have become! The peroxide blonde matriarch pops to the toilet with her expensive coat and handbag still spread across the seat. The young gay guy has stopped looking at me and I change seats. The Italians near me are listening to music, and the only one who was quiet and sleeping, is now up and starts flashing lights from her phone to go with the music. It almost blinds me. I give her a sharp, albeit defeated look, and she looks back sheepishly and says sorry without any of Francesco's gusto from 23 years ago. The blonde woman is now back, and both she and I try to engage some of the Italians in conversation. She replies. I get curt silence. Up front, the noise is now reaching fever pitch. The boys have started playing cards, or that's what it looked like to start with. One is doing a magic trick, I think. The other surround him. They are clearly all middle-class kids, 17, 18, maybe 19 years old, well-dressed, probably on a university trip, some gesticulating in the way they clearly have seen their fathers and grandfathers doing since birth. So few phones for teenagers of 2026. A few are still seated, a few stand. They break into small groups but never walk along the carriage gangway. Some place their heads in their hands, others close their eyes. One taps the other on the head. A game, a tag, it. Oh, how I wish I could understand what they were saying. Some debating, unabashed confidence. It looks like a Senate floor. I think of Cicero, of Augustus of Rome. The 18-year-old with the chiseled jaw holds court, and his girlfriend, hands him her coat. Then there's a crescendo of noise, a shout. "Shh," says one of the Italian girls to her friend or boyfriend. Self-regulation. No angry elderly English women of the 90s to shush them. No angry English men to tell the foreigners to keep it down as they did in 2003. Those men and women are now dead. Or those men may be in Thailand, of a bygone age. Both myself and the woman in peroxide blonde tried to engage some of the Italians again, but this time we are both fobbed off, me more curtly than her. Maybe I read too much into it. I have a tendency to do that. They continue talking, debating, arguing, some spasms of music on their headphone. A few moments I was intrigued. I was spellbound. Now it's insufferable, interminable. The journey. These Italians really are an act of four scenes, from fascination to intrigue, to exhaustion to realization. Not once do these Italians think they are in a foreign country and will be told to shut up and leave, and they're not. The confidence of the descendants of the Romans, not the conquered, but the conquerors. I think back to myself and my fellow British Indian friend. With both of us stooped earlier this morning, but it is no longer morning. It is almost night, and this is a train carriage, an amphitheatre. The train pulls into its final stop. The noises subside, then rise. We all get off and are submerged by the platform. We will never see one another again.